My task in the next 10 minutes is actually to share with you the recommendations from the ESR report. Slightly difficult task. As you can tell, some chaos in the beginning of the stage. The reason is because I have slides to show you, and we want to make sure that the furniture doesn't interrupt the beautiful slides that the team has put together. But before I begin, let me first thank the Singapore Business Federation for the opportunity to share the ESR report with all of you this morning. SBF started this Future Economy Conference in 2017 when the Committee on the Future Economy published its final report. It's been some time. I went back to read the report in 2017. Back in 2017, the world was a very different place. But the report had already warned about protectionism and technological disruption as risks on the horizon. 9 years on, these risks are no longer on the horizon. They are the weather that we are facing now. We launched the ESR in August last year on the back of the Singapore Economic Resilience Task Force that DPM Gan chairs. And the ESR's mandate was to review Singapore's economic strategies comprehensively and to develop a strategic roadmap for the next 5 to 10 years. Because the conditions that delivered the last few decades of growth in Singapore have fundamentally shifted, and our economic playbook needed updating. We set up 5 ESR committees on global competitiveness, technology and innovation, entrepreneurship, human capital, and managing the impact of restructuring. The committee members were not just government representatives sitting in a room by ourselves. They were business leaders, unions, and workers involved too. This was a whole of economy effort. That's why later for the panel, we have people like Brian, Jenny, and Kerry who will join me after this for the panel discussion. And I see many of my committee members here as well. Vincent, Kimpong, Susan, Sandeep, they're all here amongst others. They are the members of my Committee on Global Competitiveness. But more importantly, they are members of the new generation of Singaporean business leaders who know firsthand how the world is evolving and who are the ones who are making important decisions on the economic front line. You also notice that I've drawn the 5 committees as a series of overlapping circles, not because they look like Olympic rings, but to illustrate that these committees have deliberately overlapping missions. The most important, but the most difficult problems are the ones that sit at the intersections. 5 committees working over 9 months. They produced many ideas. So before we go into the panel discussion, I thought I should walk all of you, the audience, through the recommendations in the report. I have only 10 minutes, so I will not go into detail of the report. What I will do is give a quick overview of the 8 thrusts that comprise the recommendations of the report. And then after that, we will issue an executive summary today that will provide more exposition. And over the next 2 days of this conference, various panels will dig into the ideas of the report more deeply. So let me begin. The first thrust is to sharpen our existing strengths into areas of global leadership. Singapore is already a trusted base for high-value manufacturing and modern services. For example, we are a key node in the global semiconductor value chain because of companies like Applied Materials and Micron, which are located here. My Global Competitiveness Committee recommended sharpening our investment promotion approach to attract more of such cutting-edge activities and entrenching them through deeper supplier ecosystems, research partnerships, and stronger talent pipelines. We also need to make bold bets in new areas such as quantum technologies and space, building on what we already do well in adjacent sectors like semiconductors, advanced manufacturing, and aerospace. The aim is simple. We don't want to just be in the supply chain. We want to be the part of the supply chain that nobody can afford to take out. The second trust is to position Singapore as a trusted hub where AI solutions are developed, tested, and deployed to solve real-world problems at scale. Other countries will have bigger labs and more chips. But our edge in Singapore is different. It is our ability to organize ourselves, for example, to get a bank, a hospital, a regulator, and a researcher all in the same room, agree on what is worth solving, and then work together to do so. So our advantage in AI is not the biggest model. Our advantage is to find the best problems in the world to solve. So the committees make 3 recommendations. First, we will work with industry to co-develop ambitious sector-specific problem statements for AI deployment. Second, we will develop leading firms as champions of AI. Companies like DBS, SIA, PSA can use AI to transform their operations end-to-end and serve as reference models for their industries. Third, to accelerate economy-wide adoption of AI. Because we know that most SMEs do not have the resources or capabilities to build their own AI solutions, and many also lack access to large, high-quality data sets. And here is where we will work with trade associations and chambers like the SBF closely, because they can play a key role to aggregate demand, pool data, and work with AI developers on shared sector-level solutions. The third trust is to strengthen Singapore as a connected and trusted hub. Now, you might expect the transport minister to stand here and tell you that we need bigger ports and bigger airports. I still will at some point. But physical infrastructure alone is no longer a good enough differentiator. The movement of goods, people, capital, and data is increasingly shaped by security, resilience, and trust. So we need to build next-generation sea and air hubs that integrate physical infrastructure with digital and AI-enabled systems. We need to invest in specialized handling and logistics capabilities and deepen air, sea, land connectivity. And even when the cargo no longer passes through Singapore physically, the decisions about that cargo can still be made here. And that means growing activities like supply chain management, global procurement, demand planning, and standard setting in Singapore, so that we stay relevant even as physical trade patterns change and evolve. There are also new flows like data and energy, which we can do more to capture in Singapore, as we have done with goods, capital, and talent. The fourth trust is to foster a more dynamic enterprise ecosystem that supports renewal and transformation. The recommendations include expanding access to growth capital, anchoring younger, high-potential firms here early in Singapore, supporting our companies in ambitious overseas ventures, and helping firms restructure through M&A and offshoring. An economy is healthy not because firms never fail, but because new ones keep rising. And our work here is to make sure that capital, talent, and second chances all keep on flowing. And we aim for Singapore to move from being a landing pad for investment to a launch pad for business. The fifth trust is about creating more good jobs. Last week, we had a busy week in Parliament. We passed a motion affirming that Singapore should not have jobless growth amid the AI transition. We should advance AI strategies that complement workers. And this includes investing in areas where AI can open up new roles and career opportunities, and linking government support for AI adoption to clear workforce outcomes such as job redesign, skills upgrading, and career progression. We can also raise the quality and attractiveness of jobs in sectors that are more resilient to AI disruption, such as healthcare, social services, and early childhood education. This way, we make sure that as our economy grows, our workers' prospects improve with it. And as technology and industry cycles shorten, workers are likely to experience more frequent career transitions. And therefore, the sixth trust is to establish a stronger support system for such career transitions. The principle, as DPM mentioned earlier, is to protect the worker, but not the job. The workers of the future may experience either voluntary or involuntary career transitions. For voluntary career transitions, we should make it simpler for workers to reskill and secure better jobs. For involuntary career transitions, we should provide support to them, the workers, early, ideally before job losses occur. The ESR recommended building career bridges for workers in at-risk roles and strengthening transition support for PMEs by studying ways to smoothen income loss. And we should closely monitor the impact of the AI transition on workers. If indeed AI leads to more severe or broad-based disruption than we expect, the government should consider further measures to support workers to ensure that the gains from AI are shared fairly across society. The seventh trust is about empowering workers to take charge of their careers with lifelong learning. A diploma used to be a destination. Today, it's a way station. An important way station, but not the end of the line. Skills Future has given Singaporeans a head start, where skills have much shorter shelf lives. And so we should deepen Skills Future support for career transitions and lifelong learning, including more funding for postgraduate programs and scaling up modular and stackable pathways. The ESR also recommended a more nimble ecosystem of career and employment services, and the government has already taken this on board by forming the new Skills and Workforce Development Agency to deliver end-to-end support to our workers. The eighth and final trust is to strengthen our economic resilience. This includes energy resilience, climate resilience, and supply chain resilience. We have already been diversifying our risks, building buffers, and expanding our network of trusted partnerships. But the real competitive advantage is when we can combine resilience with efficiency. And the goal for us is to be the best insured economy at the lowest premium. So these are the 8 trusts. They work together as a coherent strategy. And every recommendation comes back to one vision: a Singapore that stays competitive and resilient in a changed world, and one that continues to create good jobs and opportunities for our people. Over the last 60 years, Singapore has restructured its economy repeatedly through recessions, financial crises, SARS, and the global financial crisis. Each time we studied the situation, we made the changes, we came out stronger. I started this morning by saying that the weather, or rather the storms of 2017, are the weather of 2026. Singapore's answer has never been to wish for better weather. It has always been to build a better ship for us to sail. The ESR is our latest set of plans for that ship. To build it and to sail it will require a partnership across government, businesses, unions, and workers. If we work together, Singapore can continue to grow, create good jobs, and remain competitive in a changed world. We will be ready, as the video said, we will be ready for what is next.